Hi, welcome everyone. Today is the day of twos, I guess, right? February 22nd, 2022. This is the Board of Library Trustees meeting. I'd like to call the meeting open. And the first item on the agenda is to review and act to approve minutes of the January 25th meeting.
Motion to approve. Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that passes unanimously.
Was there a second?
Yeah.
There, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, you
It's
took
hard to
it.
tell, it's hard to tell with the situation going on.
Okay. I think if it's okay with the rest of the board, we'd like to take things out of order a little bit as we have Jason Molina and Steve Boulay to come and do a presentation about the Community Preservation Act. I understand you want to expose groups in town to this new act and let us know what the goals are and how we can maybe be part of it a little bit. So if that's okay with everyone, just to be conscious of your time. I'm sure you don't want to sit through our whole meeting.
No.
Whatever the pleasure of the board. All right, well, thank you. All right, well, thank you very much. Again, name is Jason Molina. I'm the chairperson of the Community Preservation Committee. With me is Steve Boulay, who's also a member of that committee. And the reason for tonight's presence is we're doing a little bit of a road show to select boards and committees to solicit the community preservation needs in Shrewsbury. So as you know, Community Preservation Act was voted on and adopted by the voters in 2020. And out of that came the need to create a Community Preservation Committee, which administers the CPA funds. And so that committee in its first year, and then every year thereafter, it needs to have a community preservation plan which documents the community preservation needs, touching upon affordable housing, open space and recreation, and historic preservation in the community. From there, the committee will be responsible for reviewing project proposals and then recommending projects that fit within guidelines of, is it allowable in CPA? Do we have funding for it? Is it a sound project? And then recommend those projects to town meeting for them to take action on whether to approve that, to move forward from a funding allocation perspective. So the committee is responsible for hearing the needs of the community preservation, and again, reviewing those projects to carry forward. So we generally don't initiate the projects. We will see them through the pipeline. And the reason why we wanted to talk to you tonight is because it is our understanding that perhaps the libraries in not only being within a historic building, a portion of it, right, which I know that the voters already paid for a lot of renovation to that historic part of the building, but CPA is here for the long haul, right? And so there's other historic preservation needs of the old part of the building that become due. That's something to consider as that time comes up. But apart from that, I'm sure you probably have artifacts which you're also stewards of. Historic artifacts, maybe some early town records, maybe anything if you can think of. Again, we're here to hear, is there anything that the library is a steward of? So we will capture that as existing resources, and then to hear if you have any specific needs to preserve those things. So, of course, our interest is not only historic preservation. CPA covers the 4 categories I mentioned earlier. So, you may have more things to say relative to the library, but as members of the community, we're also here to hear what you think is also needed in our community. So we can talk about Dean Park and trails and other things as well. Okay, but certainly would like to focus on the library to start.
Don't we have, Mike Perner was giving us his historic collection, and we have a room with, Priya's going to know more details about the status of this. It's temperature controlled, and obviously we need to preserve it, but everybody knows who Mike is, the Shrewsbury historian. Yeah, but there was Artemis Ward's books were in there, And we were gonna give those to Harvard to make room for some of the Shrewsbury history stuff, and I think Harvard said they wanted them. Did we ever give them to Harvard?
Not yet. So there had been a discussion when Ellen was the director with the Artemis Ward House, which belongs to Harvard. And most of the books, some of the books in our local history room collection is the personal books of Artemis Ward. And so we had discussed with them and to see if they wanted to keep those books. And they were interested, but then of course the pandemic happened, the Artemis Ward House has been closed since then. I reached out to the curator there, but she said they're closed now, so only when they're open we'll be able to resume this discussion again. So that was a plan to move these books to the Artemis Ward House. And then what Claire was referring to is Mike Perna's collection of Shrewsbury-related books, making them a part of our library collection. That was just a discussion that had taken place between Ellen and Mike Perna and the Artemis Ward.
So as Jason mentioned, we've, part of the CPA plan is, inferring ourselves into your meeting today. So I'm in the planning board as well. So we had the same exact discussion in the planning board last month, last month, and trying to get some perspective on the planning needs, so such as you were just describing for library needs. But we also talked about other things too, right? And as Jason also mentioned, even though we're asking you to do some kind of prime focus on what library needs could potentially fit in the CPA buckets, you're still residents of the town. So if you have other ideas, we'd be interested in listening to those as well. And I think Jason will probably mention at the end of the meeting, we're working on getting a public forum squared away in the not too distant future, and once that's settled out for certain, then we'll have that go out as well. And I plan to do on the planning board is continually bring that up, as items as our agenda. So you may want to consider to do that as we get closer, maybe the touch points of things that may have an impact on the library that you can discuss openly at your general meetings. So just wanted to kind of lay it out that it's a lot of boards that are being asked to help participate with this. We tried to get, we've got a lot of resources. So we've got the master plan, we've got the housing inventory, we've got a lot of different things, but really looking for the things that are not the obvious, right? So Jason mentioned artifacts. So what I was thinking of in terms of what the library, so you're the stewards of whatever artifacts they are, the restoration of them, right? So that would be money that could be used from CPA for restoring it. And as I was thinking about from our last meeting when we decided that I was going to be a participant in this one, I didn't know if you guys, if this board already does something like this, but how every once in a while the museums will have a certain a certain artist that comes by and it's kind of a feature, right? Is that something that the library has done in the past? I mean, I've lived in Shrewsbury for 40 years and I don't recall it, but it's not that I'm here every single day, right? And then maybe we could use funds for arranging, whether it's public notification of things going on, banners in town, or stuff to kind of, have something out here that can be funded to kind of show off what we currently have. And I'm sure that that's something the CPA will probably fit in, right?
Well, if there's action verbs around this, so like the CPA will fund. So let's say it's restoration or rehabilitation of historic items, right? Artifacts that are deemed historic in nature in Shrewsbury. There is in order to have something deemed historic, it has to be run through the Historic Commission to review it and say, is it a historic item in Shrewsbury? So I don't think there'll be a tall order, especially if you start talking about that's the town charter, the document, right? You want to reserve. So, but there's generally it's we won't be able to create historical artifacts, right? But, perhaps part of a larger program, if we were to show these things, there could be mixed funding, right? CPA could be part of the rehabilitation or protection of that item, while, library funds go towards, the program itself in terms of, notifications, et cetera. So, yeah, CPA monies are restricted to specific words. Like creating open space, creating, let's say, playground, new playgrounds, or replacing them where there is, complete capital need there. So on to the artifacts there, just wanted to know. So basically, the story here is that you have this Artemis Ward collection. The library is going to cede that over to Harvard upon some future date.
Yeah.
Is there any intention that if we had opportunity to keep it, that you would keep it, or is that like a done deal?
We have them right now.
Just out of
I
curiosity.
remember going through the collection with Ellen, and I think, Claire, you were with me, right? And we went through looking at the books, and some of them I don't think are relevant, but others I think we would like to keep. So it's probably needs to be revisited, and we need to go through the room and see. And I think there were some books that probably needed to be rehabbed.
Yeah, there were a few, a lot of the books were just like this person, it'd be like, you would have your bookshelves at home, you've got the novels you're reading and stuff,
Right.
like, there were books that Artemis Ward had read, probably had read himself, but it wasn't like they had any great historic impact. But there actually were some
Yeah.
that actually could use a little love and care, I think. The room was pretty full. That was part of our issue with space, and that's why
Yes.
we were actually looking to
Right.
make more space for the permanent collection, which was really focused on Shrewsbury history. So
And that kind of, the impetus for that was the fact that the historian in Shrewsbury wanted to give us his collection,
yeah.
and where were we gonna put it?
If I'm not mistaken, I think he wants to give it as part of his estate thing, not
Yes.
immediately.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we were kind of like thinking, okay,
Right,
where
yeah.
are we gonna put it?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
do have, just to clarify, we do have a local history room here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so there's plenty of things in there, and perhaps some that do need conserving.
Yeah.
They've just been
Yes.
sitting there, and conservation is a costly endeavor. So I'm assuming that kind of thing might fall under your jurisdiction as well, so.
Right. So let's say let's play this forward. Like, what would that mean? Let's say the board sees an opportunity to preserve XYZ documents. They're in desperate need of repair. If it's not already deemed a historical artifact for Shrewsbury, you would bring it to the Historic Commission to say, hey, this is what we have, get a blessing from them, get it registered, and then say, okay, now let's raise a project request through CPC, right? 2 out of 9 members, right, so far. And then you would say, this is how much it's going to cost. We're going to contract with XYZ company. They're going to do this. It's going to be X money, this time frame. Does it fit within CPA? Yes. Just out of reference, not that I'm going to boil this down, but on the back page of the handout that was given is the action verbs and the categories, so you can see what is allowable, and this is information specific to that. So certainly, reading material at another time if you want to get deeper into it, but just trying to get some ideas. So certainly that's a great idea to be able to say, how do we preserve this content? Maybe it's expanding the space that allows you to take more material on, right? Because maybe there's more collections out there you just don't know of, right? Beyond Mr. Perna. And be able to retain, if it's so need, to retain some of that stuff from Artemis Ward. Beyond those 2 subjects, is there anything else that the library is a steward of? I know you mentioned that the local history section, but is there anything in, let's say, the storage room that's like, oh, it's in the bin, we just never touched it, but you have some knowledge of what it is?
We have the town reports. How about digitization projects? We've been considering that.
So, digitizing in itself is not a CPA funded thing, but here's the thing. Because it's not a, you're not rehabilitating or restoring a document. However, if you contracted with a company that's going to preserve the document to restore it, and they say, oh, as a side benefit, we're gonna digitize this document so that other people can see it, but you're still gonna preserve this document in a good location, then you've got both sides of it done, right? You preserved and you made it accessible, right? Because sometimes what good is it sitting in a box for no one to see it? Then it might as well not ever exist, right? So I think that's the point of the accessibility would be great as well, yeah.
Right.
Are
So
we responsible for storing all of the town reports, or is it at the town hall too?
the town hall also has copies, but we definitely store them too.
Okay.
Yeah. And we had considered digitizing our microfilms. We have microfilms of the Telegram and Gazette going back to, I think, the 70s. And we were thinking about digitizing those, the microfilms.
Okay.
Does it make sense to do that? Like, does the Worcester Public Library, have they already done that? Like, if people can access it online via WPL, do we need to duplicate that?
We don't need to. I mean, I'm not sure though
You know
that
what I
they
mean? I was
have.
just
I
thinking
don't
if
think
you
they
can
have the
access
digital.
it.
They also have the microfilms going further back.
Remember those?
Remember those?
Yeah. But what you're saying, Jason, if I'm correct in hearing you, is that that in itself would not be a covered, that wouldn't be under your purview. We couldn't digitize, just simply digitize. It has to restore
digitizing is
or,
not,
okay.
it really is about, that
Yeah.
rehabilitation or
Yeah.
restoration
Yeah.
of it.
Right.
And, would you want to, see Telegram and Gazette documents be sent to Historic Commission to say it's a historic, it's not, it's a historic.
Yeah.
But I think you get the gist, right, about some of that. But I'm out of personal curiosity, is there like a document that said, here's the parcel of how many acres for Shrewsbury,
Oh.
for 1722 or?
Because it came from Boylston. Weren't we part of Boylston?
I think Boylston was part of us.
So I think like we had, if I remember correctly, we had members from Marlboro that they wanted to break, say, it's too far to go to the town center.
Yeah.
Can we break away, right?
Yeah.
So there had to be a document to say you 40 members of this community can go create Shrewsbury. Does anybody?
Mike Perna knows the answer to that.
Given the historical
Have
society.
you talked to the Historical Society? Like, because they have lots of documents too. So it's like we have some, they have some, and I'm not sure what the breakdown is of what is where. And we have the climate control. So I don't know if like building a climate control space for them might be something that could be of benefit. And I think about giving these books to the Artemis Ward House, like where are they gonna put them?
Yeah.
Like that made me nervous of like, it's an old building over there, so, and I don't know, maybe they're not, they're not of historic value, but they're still really old.
Yeah.
Like they're of historic value
And they
in general.
belong in that house.
Right, but like, could that be something like, because it's in town, even though it's affiliated with Harvard, like, can you work with them?
So it still need to be like a publicly accessible artifacts. So if it's just to preserve it, to stay in the basement for nobody else to see, I don't see,
Okay,
I can't envision that our committee would want to fund something like that, because
No.
it's to collect more dust, right?
Yeah.
So.
But like the Historical Society is open.
Yeah, so Historical Society, that's a different case. We do intend to have a public forum that will allow folks to, to come in with ideas. Right now, we're focusing, because our short time remaining in our current term, right, we run on a fiscal year like everybody else, right, so we're up until June 30th, and so we're trying to just make sure in our first year we're hitting all the check boxes of the boards and committees that are, say, town entities that we're doing that. We certainly would invite them to come to the public forum as individual members to contribute to that public forum. Right now we're thinking about it being March 29th. That communication will come out. So posted here. So it's work in progress in terms of that setup. And so it is, and certainly as we go beyond, this term, I would like to see a partnership with them as well, because I know they're stewards of that. Just being conscious of the time, I want to just move on to other areas that, as you members of the community. You want to lead it through?
What's that?
You want to lead it through?
We can talk. So as Jason mentioned, the floor areas, and I'll preface it this way. So when I had this in the planning board, it was just a general discussion. We didn't have like bullet points and everything. We're not looking for answers here, for starters. Okay, there's no bad idea. We're just looking for some feedback. The CPC plan is a living document, so it will and can change on a regular basis. So, and understanding that you probably haven't had a whole lot of time to digest the information that was given to you, right? But just kind of a gut feel of some of the things that may fall into these three other areas, such as like affordable housing. So I know in the planning board that was pretty prevalent, because I mean that's what we're dealing with a lot, right? Construction. But I didn't know if anybody had any particular, not so much the existing resources, I think we've kind of got that covered, but it may be so much something on the community needs side of thing. So if anybody had an idea about that, if you wanted to kind of voice it. If not, that's okay, I can move on to the next topic. See, this is easier to do today because we're actually in person. When I had my meeting, it was actually remote, so it was a little more challenging. Okay, so
I've one
sure.
idea on outdoor recreation. You need more pickleball courts.
Did you watch my show? Because I said that exact same thing.
Do you know the largest population playing pickleball is over 65?
I believe
But
it.
all ages are starting to play now.
I know, but they said it really
Yes.
took off with the,
Yeah, it did, yeah. It's a lot easier on your body than tennis.
yeah.
So to give an example how that could possibly work, right? So as Jason mentioned, we've got a number of open areas that have, and I had to preface this, we're not looking to change Dean Park, I used it as an example. So Dean Park, going in and taking a look at what's currently there, and what, if you had the ability to change, would you change? Because that would be putting things that the community needs are, it's accessible by the community. The only caveat with anything with CPA money is it cannot be anything to do with maintenance, long-term maintenance. It's single infusion capital type project stuff, right? So if for some reason, pickleball, for instance, is one of those ones, the construction of the pickleball court can be under CPA, but
The maintenance.
somebody, and most likely Parks and Rec, would be responsible for the long-term maintenance, right? So those are
Good idea.
but it's to re-envision what we have for the existing parks, whether they're not currently being utilized as much as they can be, or they just need to be updated because the equipment has been, neglected for such a long period of time. So, and I'm sure that there'll be a number of people that come in for the public forum that are going to offer a number of options for this. This reminds me of kind of at work, right? So every year we have capital meetings of what we'd like to do next year, and we only have so much money and we have this many ideas that come in, right? So all that will come into play, and then the CPC committee would then go through and decide which ones. So I don't think Jason mentioned it, but it was in the information that you may have gotten. So at the end of this year, so our fiscal year ends in June 30th, we're anticipating CPA monies, CPC monies to be at almost $800,000.
Wow.
That's great.
Now, how this works is in our first year, we don't get a match from the state. However, in future years, we would be eligible, and the ratio can change, so it's not a set number of what it can be, but it's substantial enough that it's going to help, right? So it's a pretty good amount of money for only being in place for 1 year. So, and all the expenditures for this fiscal year wouldn't happen until next fiscal year. So we're going to have the open public forum. That would be helpful. We're going to also have some learning opportunities for people to understand how they can go forward with an application process. That'll happen later on, and then there'll be it'll be time framed, right? So certain months, certain things have to happen. So all entries need to be in by a certain date. That gives the committee enough time to review those and prioritize them. Not throw away the ones that didn't make it. It's just they're there. They're just, we're going to act on these ones first, right? And then every year that process would repeat itself. And every year we'll get the funding, right? So some years we're going to expend a lot of money. Some years we may not expend any, right? It's all about what the needs of the community are. I imagine we'll probably spend a lot of it in the beginning because it's going to be exciting. But as time moves on, we'll have the ability to maybe hold some money and do larger projects. And I think Jason's mentioned it many a time, in front of me at least. This committee also has the ability to go forward and do bonds, right? So we have, for some reason, it's such a large project that we don't have enough money in it. And by the way, CPC does not do the check mark of sending, yeah, we're going to approve it and we're going to spend it. All we're going to do is say, these are the projects that we'd like to go funding going forward, and that gets presented to town meeting. Town meeting actually does the expenditures, right? So they do the expenditures for everything in our community. This is the same, right? We're just going to set it up for them, and the town meeting can either agree or disagree.
Where are the monies held? In a bank or in a mutual fund? Or just wondering where are the monies held?
This is managed by the town.
By the
Yeah,
town,
the town
in a
yeah.
separate,
They're
so
separate
is
accounts,
interest-bearing
yes.
accounts? So, I mean, is it something, say, if we don't spend $800,000 this year, will that money grow because it's in an interest-bearing account, or?
There is interest on those accounts that I'm aware of. So, but you know, it kind of increments back into the pot. I mean, certainly interest rates are very low right now, so
Yeah.
not really moving the needle.
Yeah,
But what the bigger number is going to be when we get the contribution back from the state. That's you know, and some years it's 25, 30, 30%. So it's a good chunk of
Okay.
change, to come back. So just, I think just in wrapping up here, I want to move through the individual groups here and just see if there's any other ideas, and then we'll call it a time. Other than pickleball, is there any other ideas for the needs for outdoor recreation?
a dog park. Maybe some separate walking trails in Dean Park. I don't know about you, but we tended to gravitate to Dean Park a lot during COVID, heights of COVID, and walked, and dealing with cars and pedestrians on the same road can be tricky. Sometimes it would be nice to have a designated bike or walking trail.
Any other ideas?
I know there's been requests for cricket fields.
Cricket. Okay.
Good idea.
There was a lot of talk I remember the Beal Forum of people who spoke that were upset about losing the open space behind Beal, and of course, Foundation isn't far away, Foundation Fields.
Right. Yeah.
I just remember a lot of people speaking up about that, so there's not like there's a lot of open space right in the center of town. But.
Okay, so basically replacing the fields being lost by Beal project. Okay.
Yeah, because they're used for baseball all summer. You see tons of kids out playing baseball.
I thought there was cricket at
Municipal
There is
fields.
some.
Municipal, yeah.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any other ideas?
I'll just second the walking trails. I just think we could hardly have too many.
Particularly at Dean Park on the east side of the pond. At one time that was nicely paved, and it's quite broken up, and people walk it all the time, including me. And I think at one time there were some workout sort of things when.
Oh, right.
when-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those are fun.
Yeah,
Oh.
so,
That would be a great idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Anyway, just, definitely Dean Park is such an asset to the
Yeah.
community, and I think we could make it better.
These workout stations, were they like,
It's like it'll have like a bar, you can do pull-ups, or it'll have like a raised thing, put your toes under there, and you can do incline sit-ups, or.
They have a name, but I can't
I
recall
think
what
it
it
was
is.
was it the Kennedy administration that initiated the fitness,
Residential physical fitness.
Yeah, it was.
I think that maybe, it was back away, I think, but this was probably like 70s maybe, they had done that, I don't know.
all right, thank you. Last call for outdoor recreation. Yes?
But you will have a forum, so if
We
we
will
think of
have a forum,
something
yes.
else, we
All
can.
right, awesome.
Okay.
How about open space protection? So that's, so not the walking trails, that's covered through the recreation side, but open space protection can be habitat protection, it can be water protection. All right. Anybody want to protect water?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess that's why I was asking where the monies came, because I do see some potential parcels of land in the next decade or so opening up, and it would be nice to have the money available to purchase it. But,
Do you have something in mind? Particular property?
yeah, but I'd rather not say right here.
Okay. All right. But is this open space or
Yes.
water protection?
Well, open space.
Oh, so just somewhere else in that community, not necessarily by the wells? Okay,
Correct,
So just,
yeah.
so general land.
And
Yeah.
Prospect Park is
Yeah.
another area that,
Yeah.
is ripe for development. I know there's been discussion about utilizing some of that for expanding the cemetery. I mean, that's a really big parcel of land, and, that could definitely be enhanced.
Yeah. Could be a little nicer.
Okay,
You know,
last
in
call for
Reservoir-
open space?
Sorry, in Reservoir Street, there's the backup reservoir for the town of Northborough. It's in Shrewsbury. And there was an article in the paper a while back that the dam was unsafe. I think it was just gonna be removed, and the article didn't really explain, well, what's gonna happen to that reservoir once the dam is removed, unless it's gonna be replaced, but I don't know what Northborough's plans are for their backup reservoir that sits in Shrewsbury, but that's a
Oh.
nice spot down there.
So is it a nice spot for habitat
It's
protection,
nice
or is
open
it walk
space,
through as well?
It's a nice, little body of water surrounded by woods. Pretty much.
All right, thank you.
When I was a kid, speaking of municipal field, they used to have a skating rink. That was so much fun. And just even something like that, you know, that they would flood
Yeah,
and
'cause the
kids
fields
could
aren't
go
really
and.
used in the winter,
Oh,
yeah.
Right, right.
Thank you. Thank you for that as well. Yes. Okay, last call for open space protection. Okay, and I'm gonna prime the pump on this one, affordable housing, okay? Affordable housing comes in many flavors. Some communities look at that from a perspective of helping seniors stay within Shrewsbury or within their town. Because as you know, housing gets to very expensive, right, and taxes go up very high, it's like, oh, you know, the big house, don't, you know, it's just me now, or you and your spouse, right, and you kind of want to downsize, but sometimes you're forced to leave the community because you can't find something affordable in that. So a lot of other communities have created, you know, affordable housing, and I don't mean, you know, like the privately funded, you sell your house for $700,000 and you move into a $700,000 townhouse, right? You know, you basically just transfer the wealth into that same thing. But I'm talking about down to where you're now on you're on Social Security, you're at affordable housing, income requirements. So not everybody is in that category where they can just slide their monies into, you know, that different kind of housing. So restricted incomes housing is something that's, you know, certainly critically needed in many communities, right, to be able to support their aging population, or even veterans, or even, you know, say it, you know, starting salaries for teachers and public safety members of our community aren't high enough to help them, you know, stay in Shrewsbury, right? So the housing is needed in all ends of the spectrum. So that being said, any thoughts from your perspective about affordable housing?
We need it.
But we don't meet the minimum requirements here in
Yeah.
Shrewsbury for affordable housing.
No.
So that's something that's really important, to meet those minimums.
Yeah, we're quite a ways away from the minimums, and I can tell you, all the projects that come before the planning board that have any kind of residential impact on them, the number of affordable that's required, it just sets the playing field flat. It's 10%, right? So unless you get another
Yeah,
one, which is a 40B, and believe it or not, a 40B is only 25%, right? So you don't have an opportunity to catch up with that inventory to get to that 10% state requirement. So we're getting better, and we are working towards it, but it's certainly, you know, well, as a community, we will be open to 40B development, and there's no way you can prevent it, okay? It's other than if you have a 40B, there's a certain time period before another one can come in. That's your only protection, okay? But unfortunately, I think we're going to be at somewhere around 7.2% after the next housing project gets completed. So like I said, it's still going to be quite some ways away.
Is that 120, the old Edgemere?
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another one that's being proposed in another area of town as well. So, but again, even with the requirements that come with the new construction, it's not allowing us to catch up pretty quickly on the overall number. So it's almost like we need a project that's specifically designed for whether it's senior housing or just general affordable housing or something to that effect. That would be the only way you'd be able to catch up a significant amount of units overall.
Is that affordable designation that goes with one of these projects permanent, or can the developer, after a number of years, decide to go to market rate?
Those are permanent. Those are in perpetuity,
I've heard
forever and a
those
day.
phrase before. Okay, that's
Forever
good.
and a day.
That's good. Okay.
And housing for the elderly applies towards that number, affordable housing?
Yeah, well, the affordable housing is defined by the state, and it's a calculation based on income. So in order to in order to be eligible to be in an affordable housing unit, you have to meet a certain criteria, and the unit itself has a formula that identifies it as an affordable unit compared to the other units in its general surrounding. So it's all formula based, and it's a moving target, right? So it's not like we are stick in the mud saying this is what it has to be. It's state driven. It's formula based.
Mhm.
How do we compare to the neighboring towns in terms of affordable housing? I don't mean Worcester, but let's say Northborough, Westborough.
A great question. I don't have a good answer for you at the top of my head. But if you come to a public forum, I will certainly have somebody available to help figure that out.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Certainly, if there's any other ideas, the March 29th is I believe we're going to be moving towards on the public forum. Otherwise, you can also email the planning department in town. They watch over us, so we'll get that feedback from them as well.
All right, well,
Thank
thank
you for
you.
your time.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So we took up so much time in your meeting.
Oh, no, it was interesting. Thank
No,
you.
glad you're here.
Got us thinking.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Next item on our agenda is to review and act to approve the report of the director's activities for January of 2022.
January was the month when we had to go back to
Yeah.
all virtual programs, and the staff was working in hybrid fashion. Yeah, but we still had all the programs that we had planned.
How is the interviewing for the digital services coming along?
So we had only 4 applicants. We interviewed all of them, and we invited 2 people for second interviews, because the first interview was on Zoom. The second interview, they came here and did a presentation, and we introduced them to staff, etc. We're just waiting on checking their references and stuff. So hopefully soon we'll be able to offer the position to one of them.
So you interviewed all 4?
We
on
interviewed
Zoom,
all 4.
And then 2 came?
2 for second interview, yeah.
But are there not 2 positions open?
So this is the digital services librarian. The technology specialist, we had 6 applications. We interviewed 5 of them, and we invited 1 person for the second interview. We offered that person the job, but they declined the offer. So I think we have to post this position again.
I've got a question about that. Just from what I'm reading, there's such demand for people in IT that they can get great offers elsewhere. Are we offering enough money?
I think both these positions, we definitely have to reassess the salary range.
Does that have to go through the personnel committee at the town so they compare with other towns and everything?
Yeah, I mean, when we did the classification and compensation study, we we put them together with the reference library, the same grade as the reference librarian, young adult librarian. But we definitely see that, I think for technology, we need to offer more.
Is that why, do you think that's one of the reasons
I
the
mean, but-
person turned down the offer, or?
No, this person was out of state and I think they were just interviewing in different places
I see.
and
Okay.
decided not to. But one position, one other person who we were almost ready to offer did decline because of salary.
Salary, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's important to.
Yes.
Which position was that for?
The digital services librarian position.
Declined because of
Yeah.
that, okay.
Yeah, and we receive fewer applications every time before too, when we've had this position vacant, we receive fewer applications. It's youth services librarians or reference librarian or circulation librarian. I mean, those we get more applications, but technology is
Yeah,
It's too much competition.
yeah,
limited.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so that's still a work in progress then.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about the activities? So all the programs, as you stated, were virtual?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
I particularly like understanding the cat.
Yeah, I know.
Did you attend that?
Sounds like
There's
a
no
challenge.
understanding.
That's how you understand.
I'm wondering, did many people attend that
They
program?
did, and this had been scheduled
Good.
for as an in-person one, then
Yeah.
it got shifted to Zoom, and actually we got more people
Did you?
who
Sure,
registered
sure.
for it.
And
Sure.
a cat could come too.
Yeah, that's-
Yeah.
Okay.
Show
All
and
right.
tell.
I like National Rubber Ducky Day.
I know.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
cute, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I know they've found something or the other for every take-home craft, and for 2 years I did ask the children's librarian. I said, "How do you come up with ideas for a craft for?"
Very creative people, that's for
Yeah.
sure. All right, can I have a motion then to
So moved.
approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, next item on the agenda is to look at the program services that were offered during January. So I see we have 86 new library members, which is
Mhm.
pretty good, considering again, January was
Right.
another odd month.
Yeah.
And 41 virtual programs were offered, that 608 people attended, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree.
15,407 visitors in 1 month.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, COVID didn't seem to have an effect on the visitors.
Oh. Okay. Sounds great for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the financial and legislative report. It looks like we're doing all right.
Yeah. Overall, 78% used,
Yeah.
so I think that's pretty
Yeah.
on track.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the year-to-date report? No. Next on the agenda is facility. Oh, go ahead.
Excuse me, I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about the fiscal projection one from
Okay.
it's not
Okay.
included in that, but
Okay.
it would come under
This would be a good
financial.
place to do it?
Yes,
Okay.
please. So the town manager came back with his fiscal projection one, after we submitted our budget proposal, and he has approved the enhanced budget that we had requested. So, yes, he's approved the third seasonal circ aid
Yeah.
that we had asked, and increase in page hours from 62 hours to 72 hours, and the 2 teen aids for Friday
Fridays.
afternoon and Easter.
Oh, yeah, I saw that posted.
Yes, yeah, sure. Annie Lee has posted that position too.
Wonderful. It'll be interesting to see how many applications you get for that.
Yes, yes. So,
I was here this Friday afternoon, I see what the challenge is.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Discussion person.
Yes.
I believe they had to call the cops again this Friday, this
did.
past Friday.
Oh,
I
no.
wasn't here, Mike wasn't here, and Annie Lee wasn't here, but of course Melissa and the others were there. The kids, some kids had brought their bikes and
Into
they were
the library?
biking along the
Oh.
hallway here
Oh,
apparently.
you're kidding.
No.
So they got really unruly.
Did the police come?
They did.
Oh.
The police is cops are aware of what happens on Friday afternoons, because I think they get the complaints from Dunkin' Donuts and 7-Eleven. I think that whole,
Do you
Oh,
think
it's
we
awful.
need to
Yeah.
contact the middle school administration and just in some way partner with them to?
They have sometimes sent out communication, like the principal will send out, FYI, if your kids are, heading to the library,
Mhm.
here's what's expected.
Yeah,
Can you please
just
make
a
sure that they're
reminder.
aware.
yeah,
Yeah.
I did send an email again to Joe Sawyer
Okay,
and asked
good.
him for suggestions,
Good.
if we could get together and talk, or if there is someone in the middle school who could help us have, any suggestions
Yes,
that they have.
right.
Because we've been talking about this for a long
Okay.
time, and we've come up with this teen aid thing, but it will.
I mean, that's really
it's-
all we can do at this
Yeah.
point.
Right, yeah.
I can't think of anything else other than,
Right,
provide
and we
the.
want it to be a welcoming
Oh,
place
sure.
for the middle schoolers, for
But
them
for
to come
everybody
and
else,
enjoy the
too.
place,
Yeah.
exactly. But they shouldn't be disruptive
No.
and make other library visitors, feel that it's not a safe
Right,
place.
right,
That's the
right.
thing.
And I don't think parents pay attention to when we send things out. I think that the children so want to come and have it be a social thing that they let them without realizing that
Yeah,
it's not necessarily the best thing.
Right.
Most parents wouldn't think to say, please don't bring your bike inside the library.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
Teen brain.
right.
Well, I've been here when, it says on the thing, no food allowed, and you see them come in and they just ignore it.
Yeah.
And so if somebody says something, some kids are good and they go outside, others have a few
Right.
words.
Was this complaint escalated to the parents?
Yes.
It was via the superintendent.
Oh,
He
no,
had
the-
sent.
the bike riding.
Not this specific thing. So we would have to catch hold of each child, ask them to give their information, right,
Right.
phone number, and then we would have to call the parents.
So the police.
We
just-
haven't
the
done
police
that.
just came and said, can you please?
I guess, yeah, they just ask them to leave.
yeah, that's.
See, there
not
are about
acceptable.
200, 300 kids that come in, so there may be 10 staff members, right? And we are monitoring all the places in the
No, I was
building.
like wondering when the cops came in, did
Oh,
they?
I don't think they asked them for their names or information.
Probably they just told them to leave.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that we need to make the library welcoming to middle school students, but not at the price of destroying property
Right.
or inhibiting other people's use of the
exactly.
library.
Exactly.
And I agree. I don't know if parents are fully aware of what goes on, but 300 kids descending at one time
Right.
is
Too much.
too many
What is the
people.
capacity? There has to be a capacity for the building. Have we exceeded the capacity
Ah.
when that happens?
I'm not sure. I
I'm
don't
sure-
think
I'm
they
sure
would
there's
still,
some-
I do
there's a
have the
number
chart.
somewhere that tells
I do
us
have the
why.
chart which says
Yeah.
how many on each
Yeah.
floor. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that.
What if we sort of pursued, just to see how we could do it, a certain number of students who could come, and they have to come and sign in, and once we reach a number,
We're full.
that's it. Because we've all had to deal with that during COVID. So, it may be a way of helping out, you know, and if we find, you know, you'd have to probably look at the list, and if you find it's the same people every week, you have to say to some of them, I'm sorry, you know, you've got to give other people a
Yeah.
chance.
It's a good, I like your idea though of reaching out and saying,
Yeah.
what are yours? Because I don't
Right.
think it's just our
Right,
issue, it's
exactly.
a community issue.
It
and-
is.
and,
Exactly.
Maybe
Yeah.
meet with, school personnel and try
Yeah.
to
It really
problem solve
started to be an
this.
issue once the new library opened.
Yeah,
Right, right.
Yeah, 'cause there was room.
yeah.
Is it mostly right here?
Oh, they are all over the
They're all
place.
over.
They are
Upstairs,
all over the
downstairs.
place. So they come in big groups. They are here, and this is absolutely fine. They can be here.
Yeah.
They can be in the teen room.
Yeah.
They can eat here. I mean, even that's that's
Yeah.
allowed. But you know, they run all over the place. They're going in the elevators. Some of them. Then they go to the children's room. Again, it is fine. We, you know, if they're just going to be in one area and hang out like they want to do. But if they make it unsafe for kids and, you know, parents with younger kids there, then that's not good.
No.
Apparently they were out in the courtyard last week, some kids, and they were throwing stones at each other and stuff like that.
But that's in violation of the sign there that says you have to have a young child with you to be out in the courtyard.
I know, we don't allow adults there if
Yeah.
they're not with a child.
What's the time period on Fridays? From when to
3
when?
to
So-
4:45, 3 to 5.
Okay, so it's
Because the kids
basically
walk
it's
from
2
Sherwood and
hours.
Oak, you know,
Mhm.
the school gets out.
Yeah.
at 9. And then, yeah.
3:30, they are all here by 3:30, yeah.
If you got 300 kids, if only 5% of them misbehave, that's.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
majority of them behaving well, but you just need 10 disruptive kids
Right,
to
that
make
can-
it seem like a zoo here
Yeah.
rather than a library.
Yeah,
I
Plus,
think
if
it's
you're
like-
an adult coming in and it's an adolescent, unless you've got one, you're not gonna have a lot of, you know, sympathy for what's going on.
Mhm.
You know, you're gonna be, you know, you're not gonna be happy with it at all.
Right.
I think having the middle school, if the middle school principals were willing to
Administration.
send out an email to parents,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people don't have time to read those listservs, but even if some of them did, you
Mhm.
know, just to say, you know, please discuss this with your child if
Yeah.
if they will be heading there,
Mhm.
because I think nobody has a clue. Like, these are pretty like egregious
Right.
things.
Yeah.
So I think giving concrete examples, like kids have been
Mhm.
doing A, B, and C, you
Mhm.
know, and this is, you know, it's not okay for
Yeah.
the rest of the kids.
yeah, I mean, the library is, yes, people do meet each other here for tutoring, for book groups, for,
Not on
but,
Friday afternoons.
but-
When the kids
but
are not-
I know, maybe we
I don't
just need
think
to
they're doing
revisit the
homework
purpose
on
of the
Friday.
library for these middle age
Mhm.
schoolers.
We don't, we don't have a youth center, you know, we don't
No.
have another
No.
place
To
for them
go.
to go,
Right.
and it's cold, so they're not going
Right.
to Dunkin', they're not, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What if, so, I'm just throwing out some ideas here. What if, for that 2-hour period, they were restricted to this end of the building?
Mhm.
So how would you do that? Well, we have a gate. Literally, what if we had the gate closed so they can be anywhere here?
But then, like, anybody who comes in who wants to go to the YA room can't get there.
Well, they can't for 2 hours, that's right.
well, I think this, I don't think we're gonna solve this problem tonight, but I
Yeah.
think that maybe if we could join with the
Yes.
school administration and try to
Yeah.
do this in
What
a
if
team
you
approach.
requested the school administrators from the middle school to come here on Friday afternoon? We'd
I-
like to invite you to come.
Welcome to our
come.
Zoom.
Yes, we'd like you to.
But their presence might influence the behavior.
They'd have to come incognito.
Yeah.
The sheer volume,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they need to see that,
Yeah,
yes.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it would be helpful too, having had this experience, if you get the names of some of the children.
That's the thing,
Because
yeah.
when you approach parents and they ask their child, they say, oh, it wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
Yeah.
And then, if you have the name and say,
Right.
oh, but it was.
Yeah,
I hate to, I sound very, I don't know, but it's years of experience.
right.
Showed me,
Yeah.
oh, my child would never do that. And then all of a sudden, you know, I mean, I watched a kid throw a snowball at the window.
Oh.
And the mom came in and said, oh, my child would never do. I said, I just saw him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't mean to be
But
jaded, but I
they get
am.
together, they do things
They
would
do,
do
yeah.
individually.
Their
Right.
behaviors
Yeah,
kind of
right,
rub off of
exactly.
each other.
Do
Safety
most
and-
parents pick up their kids? Could we have like a little pamphlet to give them as they pick up their kids?
They probably do pick up the kids. I don't think they're
That's how
driving.
most of them get home.
Except for
because
Yeah,
they-
except for the ones with the
because they can't
bikes.
do the buses.
The bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have the 2-8 starting at some point. Do you have
Yeah, when
a
did the aides
semi-planned
start?
date for that? When we
Oh,
hope
we
to
have to hire them. Yeah.
Right. So we're looking a few months.
Very soon.
Soon, hopefully,
Very
that
soon.
won't take
Okay.
I mean, we.
Sooner the better, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sooner the better.
Yeah.
As soon as we hire them,
Applications.
yeah.
And we'll see how that works.
Yeah, we will see that, because that had helped us last
Yeah.
time, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Mhm.
And at that time, we also used to take their names, you know, some of the kids who were being terribly, misbehaving terribly, we would ask them for their name and phone number and say, your parents have to call us, call the director, and only then you can come back.
Mm.
So we can start doing that.
Well, especially if you have two teenagers helping you.
Yes,
It'll be a way to
yes,
get
that'll
out.
make a difference.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, in fairness to the kids, they've been cooped up for so long, you know, see,
right.
Oh, absolutely,
Blow
but
off some steam.
yeah.
they need some supervision, I think. All right, so maybe that's something that we can
That-
do. Okay,
yes.
okay. All right, but that's good news about the budget, certainly.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
Priya, can you repeat what was so it was the increased 8 hours and the 2 teen aides, and what was the other thing? And
The
then-
third circulation, seasonal aid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything under gifts and grants?
No.
Personnel, we kind of
We covered all of it.
covered that,
Yeah.
but now we get to talk about your evaluation. So this has been kind of a couple of months process, and thank you everybody for your evaluations. Does anybody want to say anything, or rather than me doing all the talking? Certainly I can review the evaluation, but in sum, we all are just so grateful to have you here. And just applaud everything that you've done and keep track of and set goals for, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I think she's truly been an advocate for the library and providing services during the tough times. So
Absolutely.
when things were starting to shut down, you advocated that we try and find a way to stay open. So
Yeah.
I think, and you certainly started, and you weren't here very long before you were thrown a curve, and you really rose to the occasion.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Priya, you managed to keep things as normal as they could be throughout all the circumstances the last 2 years. It's been great job.
Thank
Your
you.
timing, I must say, was impeccable in taking this job.
And the fact that, I mean, you had to turn on a dime so many times.
Yes.
You know, okay, this week, things are different. Okay, so how do we deal with this? And you did it again and again and again. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
I think you advocate, just talking about advocating, like I feel like you advocated really well for the staff too, and what they were comfortable with and what they could do and what you could do with
Mhm.
the hours that they had, so respect that too.
Thank you.
I want to add that, you were willing to do anything, including come in yourself, at any
Which you
time.
did.
Yes.
You have done.
Yeah.
How many of us have said, what are you doing here?
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing I just want to comment on is how, despite COVID, you really helped us as a community, I think, address areas of diversity. And, that's a difficult subject for many anyway, but especially during the pandemic, and yet you generated a lot of conversation, so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so, thank you for being here. I did summarize the evaluations as in the Personnel Committee, and that's Nancy, April, and myself. We discussed the current format that we're using, and Claire, thank you for your comments too. A 1 through 4 scale is not always easy to work with because, you know, you want to give it a 3.5 or whatever. And it was really hard. You don't want to give somebody all 4s because then, but you don't want to give them a 3 because they're better than that. So I think we're gonna, and we talked about this with you, revisit the whole form, especially perhaps getting some more staff input, because I know for me it's really hard to know what staff is thinking other than anecdotal type of things, so. But, thank you, everybody.
So the evaluation form will be will be tweaked.
I think so,
Yeah.
yes, and Priya, you shared some forms from other communities, and I don't think it's gonna be a major tweak, but, you know, certainly I think it needs to be looked at again. And thank you too for your self-assessment, which was so nicely organized as well, so, thank you. But here is the summary.
Oh,
You'd
thank
like?
you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so moving on. The Shrewsbury Public Library Foundation.
We have been soliciting letters of interest to replace someone who's left the board, and I think, Priya, we've only had one.
Received another one over the
Oh,
weekend,
okay.
so received 2.
Okay, so we have 2. So I think the next step is for the foundation as a board to discuss and then to present this board with our recommendations for your approval. So hopefully we will.
Is there a window of time, like you have to express your interest by
Yeah,
such a date?
it's over, right?
Yesterday was the
Yesterday.
deadline.
Okay.
Right, so the foundation board will have, have to convene to discuss that, and then hopefully by our next meeting, we'll be able to present our recommendations for your approval.
Can you remind me, Nancy, how many people are on the board?
Well, right now there are 7.
7.
Okay,
So one person has left,
Right,
so
so
we definitely want to replace
Right.
that one, but we're also considering adding yet another
Okay.
additional
Yeah.
board member
okay.
as we try to move forward with our fundraising efforts.
Yeah, okay.
Are you looking at the people that you didn't bring on last time? Like the people that had,
They were invited to reapply if they were still interested.
okay.
Okay, very good, thank you. Next is the Friends of the Library.
I don't think there's any updates.
I'll just mention that the Stop and
Oh,
Shop
yes.
Yeah.
Back program, it ends at the end of this month. And for every one of those give back shopping bags that are purchased, $1 comes directly to the Friends.
Yes.
And I did just get an email saying that, I think they've raised at least $50, maybe it'll be more than that by the end of the month.
Oh, that's
So,
pretty
Oh, that's
good.
good.
For really very little effort other than promoting it. So, so if you haven't purchased your Stop and Shop
Okay.
grocery bag yet, please do.
Okay.
And there's a little sign at where the bags are
Yeah.
that says that the Shrewsbury Friends of the Library are the recipients, so.
I just want to plug too that the membership drive is, annually, an annual membership drive, so if you're not a member of the Friends, please consider being one. You can renew your dues online. It's very easy, and they do fund a lot of programs, so we really appreciate the Friends' support. Okay, next is policies, and you have
Collection
some new
development policy.
policies, yeah.
Yeah. So the major change was the community analysis based on the census. The old one had the census data from 2010. So the new policy, the updated policy has the latest census data 2020, from 2020.
It was interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Right?
To see the,
Yes.
It
yeah, I
was,
was happy
yeah,
to see the
yeah,
diversity.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also that there are more young people under 18 than
Yeah.
there are 65 and older. I thought that was nice.
I liked how you added the library of things too
Oh,
in
yes.
there. That was
Yes.
helpful, yeah.
Yeah. And then in the young adult collection,
Yeah.
we had made that change.
About the
Because
audio.
they don't do audio apparently. All the audio
Oh,
books.
it's with, just with the adult, isn't it?
Yes, yes. There are still a few music CDs left here, but we're going to, transfer
You
them
think it's
there,
because
but
they do streaming and
I
things like that?
guess, yeah, they don't listen to music CDs. I think they'll ask you what a CD player is.
Yeah.
And they don't listen to audiobooks.
It's
Any
funny they don't
questions?
listen to audiobooks.
Well, they can do it on Libby, so I think the
E-audio.
CD audio.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
They don't listen to the CD.
I see, a lot of cars don't have CD players.
They don't, exactly,
I
yeah,
do, I still have a CD player.
Some of the newer cars don't have it.
yeah.
I know.
So, Priya, the things that were highlighted, like
Yes.
CW Mars, is it like a different system like that?
It's,
changing?
no, the way it's written now, that slash is
Oh.
not there, that's all.
Oh,
It used to be
Okay.
CW backslash or
Okay.
slash, now it's just CW Mars.
And then the summer reading,
The school,
why is that coming out?
yes, because the schools don't have lists these days.
Right, so now it's like a theme.
It's a theme, so,
Read about
yeah,
a
they,
challenge.
right, exactly, so
Oh,
we
right.
removed that,
Didn't
they
know
don't
that.
have,
Oh.
yeah. We used to purchase so many copies of all the
Yeah.
required reading
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
20,
Downstairs.
yes, yes.
Wow.
So
Well,
they
that's a
don't,
savings for the library.
I mean, we don't mind purchasing those books,
Uh-huh.
but they're not,
Exactly.
yeah.
But it
If they're
gives
popular,
the
we-
students a lot of freedom in terms of
Right.
what they choose and how
Hmm.
they address the
Yeah.
I
reading,
guess,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they don't like have one book they all have to read in common, huh? Interesting.
They don't.
Just a small suggestion on formatting.
Oh, the,
Some of them are in single spaces.
oh, the
and-
formatting is totally messed up,
Okay.
because it's on Google Drive, because
Okay.
it's on Google
Oh,
Docs.
that's why.
I tried,
It doesn't
I
have
was
any-
downloading it as
Okay.
Word and it got messed
Oh,
up
that
there.
gets
So
completely
it's-
messed up.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I will definitely fix all of that
And
and then make it
a page
appealing.
number at the bottom, so if anybody has a document, they know what order it is in.
Sure,
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I'll do that. So those are the
Okay.
basic changes.
So again, it's a living document because it reflects truly what we do
Yes.
and who our community is.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we ready to?
Do we need to
move
vote
this?
to?
You have to approve.
Do we have to? Okay.
Motion to approve the changes to the document.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we already heard from Jason Molina and Steve Boulay. And our next meeting is March 22nd. Anything else
Did
to
we do
come
facility?
before?
Or did we just-
Yeah, there was
we did
nothing.
with-
There was
okay,
nothing,
okay.
yeah.
Anything, yeah.
The FinCom the Finance Committee
Oh, yeah,
meeting
yeah.
is on Thursday, March 24th, 8:35 PM is for the library.
8:35?
Yeah,
What did we not find out?
That's
what
very
we got last
precise.
time. 24th?
March 24th, yeah. I'm not sure if it's gonna be in person or Zoom. Hoping
Hope it's in
Hope it's
person.
in person, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because all of their meetings are in
They are,
person now,
right,
so
right, yeah.
unless
They haven't
So it's a
specified
Thursday?
yet. It's a Thursday night, yeah.
Oh, okay, we usually are on Saturdays.
There are
They
two.
don't, yeah, they don't
They-
do those anymore.
They have them on Thursday and Saturday. So
Saturday.
some departments on Thursday
Oh,
and some
okay.
on Saturday.
Okay, so well, actually, that's good because we'll meet right before then, and, right?
Yes.
And then we can remind us all to
Yes,
attend
on
that.
22nd,
Okay,
exactly.
very good. Okay, anything else to come to be discussed? No? Okay. So I move that we adjourn for this evening.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.